Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss one small paragraph in the Lib Dems manifesto launched today, which will no doubt generate a lot of excitement. It's certainly generating a lot of panic on the part of Brexiteers. Beyond the small number of words assigned to it, people are saying that the Lib Dems have committed to rejoining the single market in their manifesto. Now, this isn't actually true. And you're going to see me pointing this out a lot over the next few weeks in reference to all of the manifestos. Politicians are very precise with their words. Well, intelligent ones are anyway. To understand what a party is actually offering, you have to treat every single word as being of the utmost importance and politicians take advantage of this. A lot of people read a thing and they only pick out what they think are the key words. But in a political manifesto, they're all keywords. The Lib Dems have not committed to joining the single market. What they've said is that we should. And even then, they're suggesting that it should, or at least will, take a very long time. However, I certainly welcome the fact that if we play our cards right in the election next month, the issue of the single market and a number of other issues could become a serious political talking point in our post-Tory future. After all, nothing happens in politics without a conversation first. And about time too. Latest story in The Guardian is of an Italian lorry driver stuck at Sevington for 55 hours. Can't imagine he's going to jump at the chance to come back to Britain. So the paragraph in the manifesto actually reads as follows. Once ties of trust and friendship have been renewed and the damage the Conservatives have caused to trade between the UK and EU has begun to be repaired, we would aim to place the UK-EU relationship on a more formal and stable footing by seeking to join the single market. So in terms of the wording used, it's simply an intended destination at some unspecified point in the future via an equally unspecified route. Being clear, the Lib Dems do not have any documents published which explain how they would seek to join the single market. I mean, politics aside, which can turn any 10-minute discussion into a 12-hour lecture series, just from a legal point of view, there are currently 3 ways to join the EU single market. The first and most common method is, of course, to join the EU. This would require that there is a politically settled intention on the part of the UK to join, which there isn't while the Tories double down on Brexit, and also the unanimous approval of all current EU members. The second way is to join EFTA. Now, there are advocates of this route. I don't see it. EFTA members will not want us to join. First of all, our economy is larger than all of the members put together, with the UK's current reputation for economic finesse. We'd be a bit like a bull in a china shop. Second, it could easily be seen as a stepping stone towards fuller EU membership in the future. So we'd be basically asking EFTA if we can crash in their pad, use up all their food, smash up all their furniture, and then move on a few years later anyway. The third option is a completely bespoke arrangement, which creates a new legal framework and would need the approval of all EFTA and EU members, as well as quite a lot of legislative legwork by the EU Parliament. And that's it. All of them require that we have a clearly settled political will to join, which is not the case, and all require a complex and lengthy legal and political process. After all, it took us 3.5 years to leave the EU and another year to leave the single market and customs union. And the entire thing was rushed because the Tories were desperate to put the whole mess behind them. How's that working out, by the way? Now, I will have to just point out, in terms of a fourth option, temporarily, in time, and this is the one I'm hoping for, the plan of Macron's if it bears fruit. Obviously, there's many ifs and buts about this, is that the EU creates a sort of outer tier of membership, which is a legal route to single market access or single market membership, without any of the political alignment. That could work, and that would probably be easier to sell to the British public, but it does not exist right now, and it's not like we know it's going to exist in the future. We just hope, or I hope. But anyway, 3.5 years to leave the EU, another year to leave the single market customs union, and that was rushed. Imagine how long it would take to go back, which of course is why the Lib Dems don't have a published plan. Or if they do, it's in the basement being guarded by a leopard, because the only detailed document written 2 years ago, on their website, although it does use the language of their current manifesto today, simply talks about the steps to build up to it without actually saying how this membership of the single market is to be achieved. But that is not me dismissing the entry in their manifesto. It explains why Labour couldn't put a line like this in their own, because there's no plan to do it. If Labour put anything in the manifesto, people will expect them to have a clear plan, otherwise it looks evasive. Labour are seeking permission from the public to form a government. So everything they say, they have to do. And there must be a clear understanding that it's either to be completed in the next Parliament, or that there's a clear timetable if it's to be completed afterwards. Remember, Labour are talking about some things taking a decade. But most of what's in the manifesto will have to be for the next Parliament. After all, you can only make promises for the next Parliament because an election only gives you one Parliament. But the Lib Dems are not asking the public to let them form a government. This is not the Lib Dems of Joe Swinson in 2019, who was clearly off her head on something. Ed Davey is not pretending that he's going to form a government. He's asking the public to give him the opportunity to hold Labour's feet to the fire. After all, an opposition led by the Conservatives is not going to engage Keir Starmer or any of his ministers in a serious debate on the facts of Brexit, or indeed anything. They will only urge him to accept their lunatic vision of unicorns prancing around the sunlit uplands. What Ed Davey is doing is not planning a legislative agenda in the sense Labour are, but presenting policies with justifications in order to spark a national conversation if he gets to direct that conversation, which he will if enough people use stopthetories.vote to vote tactically the Conservatives into third or even fourth place. So when Labour are engaging with the EU and they are seeking to break down trade barriers, the Lib Dems can say, oh yes, this is much better than under the Tories. Hey, well done. But of course, you'll never get rid of all of those trade barriers outside the single market and customs union. Not that the Lib Dems are wanting to tackle the prickly pear of the customs union, just the single market. This is probably because, although it would be quicker and easier to negotiate a customs union with the EU, it is my preferred first step. It comes with political downsides. I'm aware of that. It's possible to argue that we should rejoin the single market without necessarily having to rejoin the full EU, even though, that makes sense for us. You can't really do that with the customs union. If we join a customs union, then yes, we can stop there. Absolutely. We could just have a customs union. Turkey just have a customs union. But it is a bit of a giveaway that we want to join the EU. The reason being that if tariffs are set by the EU, which they will be in a customs union, then it's like, yeah, we can in theory still arrange our own trade deals around the world, but because we won't be able to negotiate tariffs, we would lose one of the most obvious bargaining chips for any trade talks. Now, in my view, it's our post-Brexit trade deals around the world are rubbish anyway, and they will always be rubbish, so I don't care. But you could see how some who don't see it that way look at a customs union with more suspicion than single market. Hence why I think the Lib Dems are not wanting to talk about the customs union at all. They're not touching that with a 10-foot barge pole. But getting back to the point, when you're reading the Lib Dem manifesto, I wouldn't read it in the same way as you'd read the Labour or Conservative manifesto. With those, you're reading what's going to happen depending on how people vote, or what should happen. We know the Tories aren't all that bothered about following through on their promises. But with the Lib Dem manifesto, you're reading the list of policies that they want to challenge Labour on if the public vote them into second place. And I would rather Labour were asked questions about what's in the Lib Dem manifesto than what's in the Tory rag. It would be way more fruitful as a line of dialogue. After all we're going to get from a Conservative leader of the opposition is demands for ever crazier policies and an exasperated Keir Starmer muttering, for goodness sake, hang on a minute, let me get the glove puppet out and explain why we're not doing what Putin wants one more time. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.